Only two hurricanes have made landfall in Jamaica in the past 40 years, and the island nation is bracing for one to make impact in just a few hours' time from now. Hurricane Beryl expected to hammer Jamaica with life-threatening winds and a storm surge before heading to the Cayman Islands. The Prime Minister declaring Jamaica a disaster area for the next 7 days and urging people to remain calm. A nationwide curfew is in place.
All Jamaica should note that following on this declaration, an island-wide curfew will be in effect between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. This is to ensure the safety of everyone during the passage of the storm and prevent any movement with the intent to carry out criminal activity.
The unusually intense hurricane for this time of year has already left a trail of destruction in the Caribbean, hitting St. Vincent and Grenadines especially hard. The storm killed at least 7 people. CNN's Rafael Romo is in Kingston, Jamaica, and he joins us now. How are they preparing, Rafael?
Max, good morning. Well, the government has issued the emergency declaration, and people over the last 24 hours have flocked to stores trying to get those basic necessities, food, water, and other things. But let me tell you, Max, people remember the devastation left by Hurricane Gilbert in 1988, also what happened with Hurricane Ivan, and they fear the same thing may happen again. And we heard previously from the Prime Minister Andrew Holness, and he's saying that the population in this country, population in Jamaica, needs to take this hurricane very, very seriously. People here have also seen what happened in other islands here in the Caribbean and Barbados, in Grenada, and they are expecting that in the next few hours things are going to change drastically. Right now it is the calm before the storms, but this, what you see behind me, is going to change very, very fast. We have felt wind started to pick up a little bit. We had rain about an hour ago, and you start to see the low-lying clouds that are very typical at the beginning of a hurricane. Earlier we heard about from the Prime Minister, who says that people need to take precautions because in the next couple of days this is expected to get much, much worse than what it is right now. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
If you live in a low-lying area, and an area is historically prone to flooding and landslide, or if you live on the banks of a river or a gully, I implore you to evacuate to a shelter or to safer ground.
The Prime Minister also said that all relevant government agencies are on high alert. He also said that his government has deployed government forces to make sure that they can assist people in need after the hurricane passes, and also very important in this type of situation to maintain public order. As to why this is happening, why such a powerful hurricane is hitting the Caribbean so early in the season, meteorologists say that the ocean waters are very warm, and that's creating the perfect conditions to have not only this hurricane but also a very active season. Let's remember, Max, the hurricane season barely started on June 1st. We are at the very beginning. People here in the Caribbean tell us that they are not used to having to deal with this type of challenge until much later in the months of August and September. However, now they're getting ready to face a very significant, a very major storm coming their way in the next few hours. Max, back to you.
Rafael Romo, thank you so much for joining us from there. For more on the hurricane's impact, let's bring in Desmond McKenzie. He's the Jamaican Minister of Local Government and Community Development, joins us now from Kingston. Thank you so much for joining us. For those who might be watching in Jamaica, just take us through the precise advice you're giving and when they need to act.
Well, first of all, thank you, and let me extend the privilege to be here to speak to your viewers across the globe as to the situation here in Kingston. Well, Jamaica, we are now facing the early rounds of the hurricane. We have already completed all the preparations in regards to our shelters. We have over some 870 shelters. All the shelters have been activated. the reports that I've been getting so far that a number of shelters have started to accept persons in these shelters. The government has ensured that all the necessary steps have been taken to ensure that the country, manage the passage of this really major hurricane, the first one we've been having in almost 40 years. So the country is ready. The people have understand, they are bought into the message, and I am hoping for the best as we maneuver. The next 48 hours is going to be a telling one for the country.
The state of emergency declared for 7 days. Just explain what you expect to happen over those 7 days.
Well, what will happen is that we are going to be restricting movements of persons in a way that they will not arm themselves. There are certain communities in Jamaica that are prone to flooding that we have to pay special attention to. So what this does is to give our first respondent the opportunity to work despite the challenges, and so that people understand the dangers that this hurricane brings. So what we are seeing now is a collective response from government and the country as it relates to preparing and ensuring that we maneuver the next 48 hours the best way possible.
Will you be forcing people from their homes?
Well, under the Disaster Risk Act, the provisions are there, but I believe that we have done exceptionally well in public education sensitization up until late last night. Our disaster coordinators right across the country and the members of parliament and the local representative at the municipal levels have been engaging in these communities. We do identify, we do know the communities which are prone to flooding, and we have seen significant response from these 48 hours.
Because the concern amongst people who own homes in these situations is often that they want to stay to protect them. And that's a difficult argument, isn't it, when you know what's coming, and you can also probably understand why they don't want to leave their homes.
Well, it's typical here in Jamaica. Persons feel more secure at home, but we have seen deterioration in certain areas based on the conditions of those areas. And as I said before, the people have a greater understanding and appreciation of the efforts of the government, and they are now, understanding. And already, as I said before, there are certain communities that persons have started to relocate from those communities to some of the shelters that we have right across the country.
There are also certain communities, aren't there, who will take advantage of this situation. Concerns, obviously, about looting, which I think your Prime Minister was suggesting there. How do you prevent that without putting your security forces at risk?
Well, the security forces are on alert. Necessary steps have been taken by both private and government businesses to secure their premises. It is not 100% foolproof that you'll be able to eliminate some level of that. But Jamaicans understand, and Jamaicans are appreciative of the challenges that hurricane brings. And I am quite sure that the greater majority of Jamaicans will heed to the call and will behave in a manner that is understanding of the crises that we share.
As a country vulnerable to hurricanes, this is obviously, I think, the earliest hurricane that you've had. Do you see more hurricanes and more risk? And what would you put that down to?
Well, climate change is contributing significantly to what we are facing today. As a small developing island state, we are subjected to what the greater world around us is presenting. So we have to ensure that, first of all, we continue to educate our country about the risk of climate change and the devastation that it brings. We are a tropical island. And being a tropical island, we are prone to that. As a matter of fact, we are in the top tier of the most dangerous countries when it comes down to disaster, because we are sitting in an earthquake fault line. So we know the challenges that we face, but the overall efforts to ensure that we minimize the effects on countries like Jamaica is what we get from the greater powers around the world.
Desmond McKenzie, really appreciate you sparing the time. I know you're incredibly busy, and we wish you the very best